Babylon. We're going down to Babylon. I'm going down. We're going to meet me down at Babylon. We're going to be down there for a while tonight. Let's all go down to Babylon and get it on.
Getting licked up. Babylon.
We're going to go get licked up. All right, I got to start this thing.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of Older Man Living Life with Purity. And I'm back in the studio here with our good friend Alex. Say hello, Alex.
Welcome to Babylon.
Welcome to Babylon. Well, you kind of threw the whole storyline out there. But today, in this episode, we're going to talk a bit about Babylon and what Babylon started out to be, and what Babylon became, and what Babylon is, how it's manifesting itself in today's world as we see it. So, I think you'll agree with it, but. Babylon. Now, this is where the Tower of Babel was, wasn't it, back in the Old Testament?
Yeah,
What happened?
Well, they wanted to build something to reach into heavens and to God, and they wanted to create a one language, and they were going to rise up against God.
Why was language a problem?
Well, I think they wanted one language so that they could control and they could speak, a consistent lie.
Because they had a lot of different people from different places. We're all trying to describe it. They really weren't getting along.
Now, what prompted this thing on Babylon is in Maria Valtorta's work, our Lord said, most people think of Babylon as being a particular area, region, or country.
Mm-hmm. Which it was,
and it would think not Iran but Iraq. Mm-hmm. I think, but our Lord said nobody ever thought to think about that Babylon is the whole world. And I'm thinking, what did he mean by that? And so I began to take a closer look at Babylon. I said, we've been talking a lot about this stuff, but I thought that this definition, if we could look at a definition of Babylon and apply it to the world, we would find some of the things you're about to talk about.
And it's kind of scary, but it all fits in with what we've been talking about the book of Revelation, the end times, this diabolical sense and confusion that the devil is trying to make in our world, and is being, really successful about it. The old story with Fulton Sheen used to tell the story about the guy who was having a conversion at home. He wasn't a churchgoer, but something happened in his life, and he decided, I need to go to church. I need to go talk to a priest. I need to go get some help on this. So the guy dropped what he was doing. He went to the local church. He gets there. There's nobody there. Place is empty. And he's like, well, where is everybody? A caretaker comes along, a maintenance guy, and the guy says, where is everybody? Where's the priest? He says, oh, the priest isn't here today. He's out protesting. He says, protesting? He says, yeah, they're having a protest downtown. He's down there leading the protest. And the guy says, well, he's got to come back, doesn't he? And the janitor says, well, you'd hope so. And so the guy, sits down, and he sits in one of the pews, and he's waiting. And he waits there a couple hours, and nobody shows up. The janitor comes back into the chapel again and sees this guy, and the guy says, I've been waiting. He says, where could this priest be? He says, I don't know. He says, I got to know. Where's the priest? He says, maybe you need to ask somebody above my pay grade. I don't know. And the guy says, well, what are you saying to do? He says, well, why don't you sit down and put in a call to God, and maybe,
He'll tell you.
God will help you. I says, I don't know. I can't help you. So the guy kneels down there, and he does his best job, and he says, Lord, he says, I need help. I need a priest. I need somebody to help me out here. Can you please send me a priest? And, God, in his mercy, sends him an angel. And the angel comes to this man and says, what is it you're needing? He says, I need a priest. And he says, well, the priest is not here. And he says, well, what am I supposed to do? And he says, what's going on? Who's in charge? And the angel says, that's a very good question. He says, the devil's in charge.
Wow.
And he's doing a damn good job.
Jeez.
So the priest has gone out protesting, isn't there. The angel comes and lets him know that the devil's in charge and he's doing a damn good job. This guy still doesn't have the priest. But he's got an understanding that evil and the devil is calling the shots right now. And that was back in 1958
Jeez.
that he's telling that story.
Right.
But he's saying that the devil's in charge and he's doing a damn fine job.
We never recognized it really back at that time, 58 or, I mean, I didn't.
Well, everyone was out driving their new Chryslers and
Oh, it was a wonderful
whatever.
time,
I mean,
yeah.
it was a great time to
Yeah.
be having a job in America. I mean,
High tech was those
see
Japanese
the
radios.
USA and your Chevrolet.
Yeah.
You got transistors going.
Yeah.
The possibilities were opening up all over the place. So people were not thinking about these things because they were thinking about the next thing.
Right.
The next
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
treasured item. So it was a different time, but Fulton Sheen was bringing people back to the fact that the devil was really sinking his claws into our world at
Yeah.
that time, and it was causing problems.
The devil's original mission as a angel of light was to translate from God and to teach us about the things of God. So when he fell from grace, he still had the domain of doing that,
He still had those pockets of talents.
except he was lying to us.
Well, he was like communication, and the anti-evil to communication was Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. That's why Gabriel does all the communications for Mary and for God himself. If there's something
No, he was the one that was
I've had him,
interceding with you.
Yeah.
He
He's got a
chuckled.
sense of humor.
Oh, he was chuckling about.
Oh yeah, he's got a sense of humor, and rightly so.
Okay.
Okay, because I mean, he knows far more than any of us will ever know until that day,
Right.
and probably then some. But the angel Gabriel is the patron saint of communications,
Okay.
for a reason. And
Never knew that.
Yeah, and so, but the devil did have this group of talents, and that's why with the problem that we have in the world right now with the language, it's not dissimilar to what was going on in Babylon,
Probably worse.
because what we got right now is not so much problems with being able to translate, but we have problems with definitions and the blurring of lines that they're trying to do with definitions to create more confusion in the brains of the electorate.
God's little children running around.
Right.
So
Changing the meaning of words, it really sets this confusion in motion.
there's a little thing here because I wanted to understand Babylon, the meaning behind it historically, and then what's occurring today. But I think this is appropriate. In the Bible, Babylon is a city that appears throughout Scripture from its historical role as a powerful ancient city and a place of exile for the Israelites, to its symbolic meaning as a representation of worldly corruption, worldly rebellion, and opposition to God. Are we there?
I think check, and check.
Okay,
I
so
think we got them all.
this is now worldwide. It's not just a specific to the Israelites and then it goes through, Nebuchadnezzar and all these different people that were enslaving the Jews and so on and so forth.
This isn't a localized phenomenon.
No. The worldly corruption and sin, Babylon serves as a recurring symbol for systems of worldly pride, sin, rebellion against God. It's the antithesis to God's kingdom. It represents corrupt earthly kingdom that is in opposition to God's spiritual kingdom. And the implications are that these interpretations and views, Babylon the Great is a revelation, foreshadowing of a future dominant global power that will be overthrown at the end of time. So they're saying God will overthrow this, but the carnage and the loss of human souls in between that and now is what's at stake.
Well, that's this period of what we call the Babylon the Great. And that's the title that's being given to this worldwide, the flood. The flood that's talked about in the book of Revelation is not a watery flood like Noah experienced.
It's a flood of.
It's a flood of evil
Ooh.
that's cascading across the world. And I talked about this in a previous podcast, talking about floods and horses. And I talked about the flood being the evil that's being let loose around the world, and the devil has loosed all these demons, not only for this diabolical confusion, but to help bring this flood of evil all throughout the world in all sorts of ways.
Wow.
That Babylon the Great, which Babylon the Great refers to this
Worldwide.
flood that's going all over the world,
Right.
with this Babylon confusion that's going on. And so that's what the reference was to Babylon the Great,
Yeah.
is this episodic worldwide event.
So we're
that's going
talking
on under
about-
the name of one world order.
And we're talking about people that are educated, affluent, even in terms of affluent as far as our poor and our middle class. To a certain extent, there's,
Oh, they're the elitists.
right?
Right.
Air conditioning or this and that and the other thing. We're talking about where God provides us with food, the light, the sun, all these wonderful gifts, housing, and so on and so forth. And yet we still are in a state of confusion.
Well, there's a problem with the truth. And we talked about this before, how so many people want to say that I have my truth, but I'm not getting a good pump out of that one. There we go. I don't have, my truth doesn't match up with your truth. That's because there's only one truth. We can't have multiple truths.
Right.
But a lot of people out there want to, for the sake of their own satisfaction and comfort, they want to say, well, I have my truth. This is my truth. They're wanting to put themselves out and above God and God's natural.
So how would you, what would you say if somebody said, what is the truth? What would you say in trying to sum it up to somebody?
Well, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
So you just summed it up. So now we need to learn
He
about
summed it up.
Learn about who
I
Jesus
just repeated it.
is. Okay. So it's our job to find, who is this Jesus?
Oh, he was a guy that he happened around about 2,000 years ago.
Right.
I mean, you should read about him.
And where would I find it? Where could I find it? And certainly the Bible. We can
Oh,
find
so
it.
of
in
course
the
we
city
can.
of Babylon.
We can find it in the truthful books.
We'll find it in the Shroud of Turin.
You'll find evidence in many places. You'll find evidence a lot of times, even at the local coffee shop, with just a tender smile and
That's a good point, Larry. Yeah.
a notice of
Very good point.
of endearment from somebody
good.
just passing on the street that you'd never met before.
Very good point.
That's how we know that God is real,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
Jesus was there.
Yeah, it's not just our dissertation and looking into this and that. And you're right. A simple act of charity and smile that takes somebody away
This
from
is the
whatever
communion.
darkness.
This is a communion.
Yeah,
This communion.
very well.
It starts with being acknowledged and, just accepted. But you don't need to be a fool and accept everything, on the face of it. You have to try to convert and change the things that don't fit. And so this is where we have this diabolical confusion going on. You have people out there that really are possessed in this prison of ideas that's going on all
Good
around
point.
us right now. And we have to understand. That's why I say, my problem is not with Muslims in the world. My problem is with Islamists. And Muslims have been the first captive victim of Islam.
Yeah.
They don't really know it, but a lot of times when you're in this brainwashed, or you've got this
Good point.
what's the other one where you take the hostage and the Stockholm effect, the Stockholm syndrome.
you begin to
you begin-
understand the plight of the people, right?
Right. You end up becoming
Friends with them,
friends and allies with your persecutors,
right?
because you start seeing, and this is what's happened. This is what Hamas has done with our young females in this country, who are very susceptible to these types of things. You always start these movements with the women, because the women are easier to move towards something based on emotion, not necessarily on facts, because they will accept alternate facts to make their emotions feel better.
So how can they get American women that are relatively, independent to become controlled? And
They appeal to their sense of power. That they feel they're getting power by doing this. I have power. It's like with a woman trying to complain about how she has to have the ultimate right and authority over her body to kill that was within her to make herself feel better.
So it's about power then.
It's about power.
Okay. So if they assert power on her, she's attracted to that. There's a certain
No,
attraction.
they're telling her she has power by thinking this way.
Oh, okay.
So they're saying, you're the powerful one, but you have to think about it this way. And so that gets them to give up the things that they grew up with and knew to be true for some other idea, because now they're enlightened.
But
And so now they're powerful.
they're also under the control of the.
They don't know it.
Okay. So they think they actually.
Right. This is how sexy the devil is.
Okay. Interesting. There's an interesting, symbolically it says Babylon represents a system of worldly power, corruption, and religious confusion that opposes God.
You see that anywhere in the world today?
I don't know. I think it's
right outside the door.
It's frightening that that kind of manipulation of God's creatures can be, shaken at its core. But the
bigger problem I see is that the people who do know that this is a problem are sitting silent. They're not voicing against it because they're being compassionate and trying to have empathy. But they're allowing the sore and the evil to gain more and more ground when they should be speaking out against it and saying no.
Right.
This is what they're supposed to do, but they're too afraid. What I talked about, they're being frozen in fear because they don't want to be, marked as being different or having an opinion that goes against the rest of the crowd. I don't want to raise my hand even though I know the answer.
Yeah, and they talk about experiments where everybody is saying that it's the red object is blue, 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 blue.
Right.
And they figure, well, I ain't going to go against that. I'm going to say blue too.
Right.
Because they don't want to be, they fear of being ostracized.
The social ostracism is more important to them
than the truth.
Because women are based in a societal type of thinking.
Right.
They're the ones who bring society together. Men don't do that. Men are the protectors. Men are the ones who sit on the outside and say, wolf, and go after the wolf.
Real men will
or
protect
the real men will say, sheep, leave the sheep alone. It's not a wolf. Okay? And then, but the men are also the ones who are expendable in a society. Women are not. That's why men have to go out and do all the dirty work and do all the risky jobs. It's never been the women's role. Women's has always been to create peace and harmony in the society. But that worked for so long until society got to be too Babylonic. It had all these different voices and all these different, languages. And then there was confusion as to how to communicate. Then it had to come down to definitions. Well, what is this? What is a man? What is a woman? Confuse those, blur those lines. Now then you can create even more confusion. And so natural law, like I say, God's law doesn't need words to explain it.
Right.
You know it.
Right.
We're supposed to know it. These are things that are natural laws. But everyone wants to say, well, we need definitions. And then you give them definitions. He said, well, doesn't fit mine,
Right.
Doesn't fit my narrative.
Right.
But that is somebody who's walking away from a truth.
So human sexuality would be a very basic universal understanding of male-female. To distort that and for people to go along with it, of course, they're using chemistry to say a man wants to be a woman, and maybe the man has more softer aspects to their physical nature, and you juice them up with these whatever chemicals.
Oh, the hormone treatments?
Hormone treatments. I mean, can these people actually take on a look of a woman?
Oh, yeah, they do it all the time. Go to Thailand. You got femme boys out there.
Can you tell the difference?
Nine times
Not till you get down to
out of the 10, once the guy's he's thinking hot chick, then he gets back, he goes, oh no, that ain't chick, that's dick.
So that they're able to literally get a person to look.
Oh, they got guys in women's beauty contests.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So the distortion
talk about tough.
and the seduction is very real in terms of.
Oh yeah,
you
well,
know,
this is where the pervasive Babylonic brain comes in.
Okay.
And this is what we're dealing with.
Okay.
And there's some people out there watching these events and saying, that's horrific. That can't be happening.
But
it's
yeah.
happening
But
right
it
now.
is Anthony Oates.
And a panel of judges decided this was okay.
Right.
This is
Psychiatrists too. I think the medical community and the psychiatrists have flipped the other way because they know very well what's going on with this business. But there's money, I think, to be made in it. And especially with these surgical procedures and whatever is going on with it. There's money to be made in this, isn't it?
Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it.
They wouldn't, would they?
No. You don't buy Ferraris based on just good deeds.
Okay.
It's all about money and power and turning people over. And it's just the scientific word for this is messed up. It's
messed up, yeah.
And it translates into all sorts of languages, but it's messed up. And everybody knows it. And even the people who are supporting it know it. And this is why they're so defiant and more angry in their resolve to double down in protecting that. Because they can't give up on their truth, if you will.
Yeah,
and this happened the other day. I was talking about that MSNBC reporter, Nicole Wallace. She had the governor of Illinois on, and they were talking about people referring to Trump as being Hitler. And she says, well, I've never heard, a Democrat call Trump Hitler. I've never seen it. And Pritzker got really quiet. He goes, yeah. And they both called Trump Hitler or Nazi and all this other stuff been going on since before he got sworn in. And I went back and I found at least 5 times where Nicole Wallace had called Trump Hitler just in January of 2025.
So she really believes that, you're telling me?
She was saying it with ultimate conviction, but this is how the mental aspects of this craziness goes on. Even though they're on film and on video having said this, they will deny it.
Sweet Jesus.
Because they can't let their brain accept them being a hypocrite because it's all about the power and they want to be in control.
So power dominates the thinking, the reasoning, the
money
truth,
doesn't matter. It's not about money. It's never been about money, since
it's that seductive.
Power is what makes things go. It's why school teachers and their unions and all like that, they're not looking for the best interests of the kids. They're looking for power. That's why they want to take the power or the control over the child away from the parents.
Yeah.
They're saying the parents don't know what's best for the child. We do.
I confronted a teacher one time and said, this business with the transition with these children is insanity. That's craziness. This is something that, and the school teacher got upset with me and said, well, I'll never come back to the restaurant again. So, calm down. You're the one that brought it up. And the thing is that she was offended by the truth because she's for this crazy shit.
Right. And it goes against their training and acceptance that they've done, which gives them their social ranking and power.
It is.
And so for her to come out of that, she will lose ranking and power in her community. And they can't take that either.
Oh, my God,
because then you're the bad guy for saying anything that might perpetuate the natural law.
So you're outlining a course of action that will end up in losing their souls because the soul cannot survive.
They don't really believe that they have a soul. 50% of our population has never been baptized. 50% of our population says they don't care if Islam takes over and they have to swear to be a Muslim.
Okay, so that's the problem.
Because they say, I don't care, I don't believe, I don't have, I don't go to church as it is anyway, so I really don't care.
There's the problem.
And this is why...
So like I asked you, what is the truth? And you said, Jesus said. So if they're not looking for the truth, then they're looking for the lie.
Well, they're looking for the easy path with no resistance that gets them what they want.
In this life,
Right.
not in the next one.
Well,
though.
they don't believe that there's anything after this. They think it's all over. They don't see that because they haven't seen the truth because they've been told these lies.
So
This
our-
is the diabolical reasoning that's been going on. It didn't just happen.
So our Lord said that many souls will be lost of lack of knowledge. Is this what he's talking
Of
about?
course it is. And it's also going to be lost for lack of conviction for people who do have the knowledge for not speaking up
Even worse.
when they're supposed to.
Sure,
Right.
that's
a
right.
sin of omission.
That's right. No, absolutely right.
And that goes across, that does not have a border. I have a bumper sticker on the back of my vehicle that says, heaven has a gate, a walls, and a strict immigration policy.
Yeah,
Hell has no borders.
that's true. They've described
I
it.
get
Souls
death
are
threats for
falling.
it.
They're falling into hell like leaves from a tree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I get death threats for it. I'm going to get more.
Listen.
It's you got to stand up. They're trying to take God out of the equation. Babylon is not a place; it's where we are. We are in it. This is the book of Revelation being laid out. We are living it. Understand that the flood is not a flood of water; it's a flood of evil
Yeah. It was.
that's going around the world.
It was in Valtorta's work that our Lord said that hell needed a flow of blood